I don't know about you, sis, but the cost of perfection left me perfectly exhausted. Be thin, but not too thin. Be confident, but not overly confident. And be successful, but not too successful. If you're with me and you experience the pressure to be perfect, this is a perfect paradox, and it is time to dump the impossible standards that are destroying your mental health and that are so tied to eating disorders, and it's time to stand in your truth. In today's episode, I want to talk about the cost of perfection and what you can do about it as you step into the best you in the upcoming year. Let's go. Hey girl, welcome to the Her Best Self podcast. I'm Lindsey, former competitive figure skater and perfectionist, turned God-led imperfect boy mom and digital CEO. If you find yourself constantly thinking about food and wondering if you'll wake up one day free from the obsessive thoughts and behaviors controlling your life, then I've created this podcast for you. Because I know exactly what it's like to be a downright hot mess, trapped in a destructive cycle of disordered eating. I finally found freedom, and you can too, girlfriend. So if you're ready to heal your relationship with food and body and break the chains of control and show up in your best health, then grab your favorite Tarjay journal and let's get to it. So you can start living your best life as your best self. Welcome back to the podcast, sister. I hope you have had such a great Thanksgiving if you are celebrating Thanksgiving here in the States. And I just hope that you are spending some QT time with yourself as you head into the weekend. Make a commitment to do just that. Today, we're going to dive into something that many of you in recovery, including myself, know all too well. And that is the relentless pressure to be perfect. So whether you're just starting your recovery journey or you've been on this path for years and hanging out with me for some time, perfectionism might feel like both an old friend for you and yet your biggest obstacle. When you couple perfectionism with the pressure from culture and society to be, quote, Instagram ready, the output you receive is simply exhaustion. You're exhausted, sis, and trying to live up to this impossible standard. Today, we're going to dissect some of this and think about these impossible standards. Think about them. You need to be thin, but not too thin. You should be successful, but not too successful. Be confident, but not overly confident. I hear from women every single day that they're just tired, and they're tired of being tired. And of course you're tired. I want to validate your exhaustion. It is impossible living up to these standards. And these contradictions are going to sound so familiar to you if you live with an eating disorder brain. But today we're diving into these impossible standards that are literally quite possible for you to rewire in your brain. And we're going to talk about what science says about breaking free. So don't just take my word for it. But before we begin the show, I just want to reiterate, I am not a clinical professional. I'm not a psychologist. I'm simply a girl who recovered herself from the misery of an eating disorder that took over my life and almost took my life. And now I've helped thousands of women recover and do the same and find freedom. So everything I share on my show is from my personal story. I want to share some important scientific research here that is going to help you if you're pretty logical or analytical and you just want to have like rational facts. And I think today is going to help you if that's the way you think. So you know that voice, right? The one that says, just lose 1 more pound, or if I could just have a little bit more control. I remember thinking that if I could just get everything perfectly, my meals, my exercise, my body, then finally I'd be enough. But here's the thing. That perfection you're chasing, it's like trying to catch smoke with your bare hands. Not humanly possible. It's just not possible. And understanding perfectionism and the eating disorder connection is so important. So let's let statistics tell the story for us. Research shows that up to 68% of individuals with eating disorders display clinically significant perfectionism. And perfectionism often appears even years before any eating disorder behaviors. Studies indicate that perfectionism remains elevated even after your recovery, making it a crucial focus in treatment. And that's why you'll find a lot of people who find themselves in the messy middle of recovery. Maybe you're there today. I also found myself in this place where I felt like I just should be further along and I should be doing more. And I wanted to get it perfect. But here are some of the deep roots of perfectionism and how it ties into eating disorders. Your early environmental factors matter. Your family dynamics, your parental expectations, maybe your academic and achievement pressure, or any early exposure that you had to diet culture, specific body ideals, and any trauma and childhood experiences. Did you know that social media's impact, this is users who spend 3+ hours a day on social media, are 60% more likely to develop body image issues? And that is so wild. So research shows that perfectionists have heightened activity in the brain's error detection center. There's like a center in the brain that shows error, and triggers an error. And it acts like this oversensitive alarm system that's in your brain. I'm not going to go down into the weeds. Again, not clinical, but it's constantly scanning for things you're doing wrong or for mistakes. And this is actually how it keeps us safe. But this hyperactivity, it creates this feedback loop of anxiety and self-criticism, okay? You also have neurotransmitter systems in the brain, and that's the serotonin. This is that feel-good chemical. And perfectionists often show altered functioning in that feel-good chemical, meaning the chemical that actually affects your mood regulation, your satisfaction, and the ability to feel good enough is altered if you're a perfectionist. Remind you, you have this hyperactivity, always on alert of this feedback loop that creates that anxiety and that self-criticism. And this explains why perfectionism often co-occurs with anxiety, with depression, and of course, eating disorders. Now let's talk a little bit about dopamine, okay? This is that reward chemical. If you're a perfectionist, you also, in research, show altered dopamine reward circuits. And this just means that it makes it harder to feel satisfied. It makes it harder for you to feel good enough. This creates that constant drive, that constant need to do better, to achieve more, to be smaller. When we think about stress, when we think about elevated cortisol levels, when we think about this constant level of stress, this correlates with the stress response of all these things that are inside of your body. And what does that do? It simply makes relaxation in your life, self-acceptance, so much more challenging. And it impacts your immune function, your physical health. And it's actually what causes worsening eating disorder symptoms, because you're stressed, you're tired, you're not eating enough to nourish your body. All the lights aren't on inside of your body. And you're doing the bare minimum to survive because of the lack of nutrients you're taking in. And you've got all these chemicals that are going all these different ways. Okay, this is super high level. And what this means is that it makes it harder for you to be flexible about your thinking, to accept the concept of not being perfect, and super hard to navigate uncertainty. And that's why you've got so many things here that are happening at once. But this cycle is created, okay? Your threat detection system, the one that we were talking about that's on overdrive, it becomes hyperactive. And this leads to increased anxiety about failure, anxiety about not being good enough, anxiety about being rejected, or the fear of not being worthy enough. And this triggers those perfectionism behaviors. Insert those unhealthy eating disorder coping mechanisms. What this will give you is a temporary relief and actually a hit of that chemical that's like, okay, I feel superior because I feel in control right now, but it's temporary. And this simply reinforces the cycle. It creates that neural pathway that strengthens over time. It's like a ditch. You're digging it deeper and deeper and deeper inside of your mind over time. And so that's why sometimes it feels like you're literally crawling out of your skin and you want to do something differently, but you're not. And the action is hard. Okay. If you're there, I see you, I get it. And I've studied a lot of this stuff because I've been super, I don't want to call it obsessed, but slightly obsessed in understanding how my brain works so that I can get myself out of this over the years where I was in recovery and like in the nitty gritty of it. But there is hope. There is hope. Okay. And this is why the brain actually can change. That's right. With mindfulness practices, with self-compassion, with the opposite of perfection. So being exposed to situations where you're almost forced to be imperfect and like there's nothing that you can do about it. And with new learning experiences, quote, exposures, research shows you can actually change that hyperactivity in the brain. You can improve your serotonin function. You can create newer and healthier neural pathways. That ditch can stop digging over here and it can move to a different place in your brain that's going to create healthier results for you. What this means is that even if you feel like recovery is impossible, even if you feel like you've been doing this forever, even if you feel you identify with being a perfectionist and having all this structure and having these rigid routines, and you feel like maybe it's possible for her to recover or for you, Lindsey, to recover, but not for me because of your life circumstances and your experiences and these pathways that have built up over time and become who you are essentially, I want you to understand that there is a neurobiological connection. And what research shows, friend, is that you can change. Your brain can change. You can create absolutely new and healthier pathways. And what this is hopefully doing for you today is giving you some hope. You don't have to be thin, but not too thin. You don't have to be confident, but not overly confident. And you can get rid of the lie that you have to be the most successful to be enough. True recovery happens when you stop trying to do it perfectly and you start doing it honestly. Just getting honest with yourself and looking at the research, pointing to the facts. Because I don't know about you, but for me, I felt like for years, people would come to me and just say, I have proof that this recovery has happened over here. And maybe I had a friend that went through some of this and they were able to recover, but it still felt like good for them, not for me. Science and research shows changes in your brain are possible. And it's the exposure to being imperfect. It's creating self-compassion within you and putting yourself in new experiences. I tell my clients all the time, like, this is just collecting data. We're just collecting data. We're just trying to put ourselves in this experiment. What does that teach us? Because the reality is if you're sitting with the struggle and you've been sitting in the struggle for decades, God's trying to teach you something. So we're going to learn, sis. We're going to learn. And I have learned so much over the years. And it's such a true blessing to be able to coach you. Even here on this free podcast, I love doing it day after day. My favorite journal right now that I am really loving is by Marshawn Evans Daniels. It's 100 Days of Believing Bigger. It's a devotional. I do it every morning and I get no kickbacks from sharing this on the show, by the way, but I just love this. And there's this identity area where one of the devotions talks about this exact concept, this exact need and desire in our world to be perfect, and it's so impossible. In this journal, it says, in a world filled with protocol, a never-ending list of do's and don'ts, and the pressure to be perfect, it can seem impossible to discover who you really are and what you're here to be and to do. But God uniquely made you. Nothing about you is a mistake, and He won't bless who you pretend to be. And I know that this is going to touch someone today, and I hope that's you, sis. I want you to stop conforming, stop shrinking, stop dimming your light, and stop running from who and what you were always made to be, say, create, and do. That real version of you, that authentic you, that honest you is what's going to get you out of this mess. So in closing today, I'd love to hear from you, and I'd love for you to share with us. Come out to our private community. You can find us at herbestselfsociety.com. What is one area where perfectionism really shows up for you right now? I would love for you to answer that question or shoot me a DM. You can find me on Instagram at the Lindsey Nickel, or you can go out to the private Facebook group and just post about this because I want to bring some awareness about perfection. Remember, recovery is not about being perfect. Life is not about being perfect. And I know we hear that, but we don't actually live that. Sis, it's about being present. It's about being real with the real people you have here now. It's about being gentle with you because your worth, it isn't measured by the ability to meet impossible standards, but it is measured by your courage to show up. It is measured by your courage to show up. And so here's some hard truth as we end the holiday week and go into a new month. Are you showing up day after day exactly as you are? Or are you playing a role of who it is that you would desire to be, yet you're not even happy in that version? Recovery is measured by your courage to show up exactly as you are authentically. If today's episode resonated with you, please share it with someone who might need to hear this message. And don't forget, I am doing a Black Friday sale. So if you're listening to this live in 2024, we're about to go into 2025, but for Black Friday this year, so through Sunday, I am doing a Black Friday sale where I am giving you $300 off personalized coaching with me. And if you're looking for somebody to help support you through this messy and beautiful journey of healing, I would love to talk with you. You can find out more by filling out a client application. Go on out to the website, herbestself.co, and do just that. Your worth, sis, it isn't measured by perfect days. It's measured by the courage to keep going on the really imperfect ones. I love you, friend, and I hope that this has helped you today. Thanks for being here. I'll see you next week. Bye for now. Oh, friend, thank you so much for letting me share what was on my heart today. My hope for this podcast is to help more women find freedom from food and body. If this has empowered or blessed you, let me know. I'd be honored for your rating and review of my show, and I'd love to connect with you in my private Facebook community. You really can move from perfection to purpose. Let's break the chains together. I'll help navigate the way. Until next time, bye for now, girl.